You're listening to the Sticks in the Six podcast. Here are your co-hosts, Andrew Forbes, Peter Barricini, and Alex Auston.
Well, good evening, everyone. And once again, we are here at the Sticks in the Six podcast doing a show live while there's a game on. So I know you're going to be watching the game in the background and you're going to be listening to us and maybe even watching us on YouTube. You never know. But here we are for episode 184 of the podcast, here with Peter and myself, Andrew. And another big week for the Leafs, Peter. Obviously, the last week before we head into Christmas, we've had the holiday freeze on trades, albeit we had some moves prior to that. But before we get into all the fun hockey talk, how you doing this week, my friend?
Yeah, doing great. Like you mentioned, holidays coming up, already in holiday Christmas vacation mode, whatever you want to call it at this point. The holiday freeze. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting of the moves to happen. I think eventually it would happen, but they just came quick in succession with Capo Caco, Alexander Carrier. And it's funny too, because I was talking with a couple of Maple Leaf fans, as we all know, James from Offside, as well as the Count McCluskey, talking about like players who we would like to see the Maple Leafs acquire. And you know me, I've always been a big Alexander Carrier fan. And as that's happening, I'm like, I think, the two-way play, the offensive upside, the mobility, he's on the smaller side, but he could play a quick game. I think he would be a great third pairing addition. Literally seconds after that happened, he gets traded. And I'm just like, you know what? Forget I said that. Just disregard that whole entire thing. So I'm there trying to be like, have an insider, kind of opinion, think he would be a good fit. And then all of a sudden he goes to Montreal. So, but honestly, great pickup for the Canadians. I think that's a huge addition to their blue line. Justin Barron really wasn't quite cutting it out. I think you get a little bit more upside there. And Kako with a fresh start with the Seattle Kraken. I mean, getting constantly scratched, being the one left out. He's just been in and out, constantly rotating in and out ever since he became a Ranger. Fresh start, fresh opportunity with Seattle. So good to see him go over there. And I think he'll pop off. I think he'll fit in great with that system.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Before we get into that big week here as well, I before we get into any hockey news, I want to give a big shout out to Dante and Lambeth, and I'm sure people have seen sticks out for Dante right now.
Mm-hmm.
A 7-year-old getting off his school bus and was fatally hit by a car who was trying to pass the school bus while it was stopped on the side of the road. So, folks, when you're out there, be smart, be safe. School buses, make sure you stop because this is what can happen. And, big shout out to the family and the hockey community down in Lambeth. Man, 7 years old at this time of year, at any time of year, but especially at this time of year. He's got an older brother. I believe his name is Vincent. So, hopefully they can find a way through this and with the support of everybody around them and obviously the support of the hockey world as well. I know Ron McLean mentioned it on Hockey Night in Canada tonight or on Sportsnet tonight that, shout out to them as well. But some sad news out this way, and hopefully that hopefully there's a way through this for the family because that's a tough thing to happen and to lose a child and lose a child at 7 years old. It's just so many lives are changed, and the person who hit this kid too is their life will forever be changed as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the people that are on the victim side of things. It's those that are involved with the person who was driving the vehicle as well. It's a game changer. So, rest in peace, Dante, and forever there'll be an angel looking down on you guys. Jumping back into the trade, it was almost like it was a lead up to trade deadline over the last couple of weeks. We haven't seen as much activity prior to a trade freeze as we have in maybe this season. Capo Caco, you mentioned, obviously that's a big move to see him go to Seattle, get a new start with the Kraken, get out of that Rangers organization. I saw a lot of Rangers fans tweeting about, this was probably not the move they needed to make. Obviously a former second round pick. I think this is a great opportunity for Seattle to see what they've gotten. We've seen Seattle do it before when they picked up Eli Tolvanen as well, and he's had a bit of a game changing experience in Seattle as well. So that'll give Kakko an opportunity to kind of get in there and get more minutes and get a little bit more consistency with who he plays with and to his game. And I think it's going to be a game changer for him. But I think when it comes back to the Rangers, the pieces they got back, Will Borgen, I believe it was, and
Will Borgen and a couple picks, yeah,
third and a sixth. So I mean, they didn't get a major return. I think it is a little bit of a commentary on what the Rangers are going through right now, and it's not a good thing right now. We discussed this in our preseason episode where we talked about culture in the room and Shesterkin wanting more money, and obviously Shesterkin got more money as soon as they moved Trube out. And you moved Trube, your captain, you basically said, like, accept the trade or you're going on waivers. When you give your captain the ultimatum, it does change the culture in the room as well. I think there's a lot to unfold with the New York Rangers. Fortunately for the Leaf fans listening, we are not a New York Rangers podcast, so we're not going to get deep into the what's going to happen with the Rangers. But it's not going to be. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a fun time over the next little while, and
it's going to be nerve-wracking.
It is going to be nerve-wracking, and you've got a lot of money locked up in Shesterkin. You need him to be. He needs to steal games for you at this point, and it's going to come down to that. One thing that I know you and I talked about as well is the Boston side of things as well, and their culture with Swayman signing the big deal. Things have turned around a little bit for them in the last little while, but still the numbers kind of dictate where they're at. It's not looking great for Boston when it comes to playoffs this year. Tampa kind of holds their own fate now in the Atlantic Division. But again, we're not here to talk about those. We're here to talk about the trade. Kaapo Kakko is going to get a fresh start in Seattle. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I agree with you. I think Montreal got a good pickup in Carrier, and I think that's that's a piece that they need. And look out for Montreal over the next calendar year. Like, this team, they've got the pieces. Slavkovsky starting to look good. Laine is absolutely lethal on the
torching
power play.
It right now.
Another power play goal tonight. Like 8 power play goals since he's returned from injury. It's incredible. So Suzuki stepped it up. Caulfield's still a little cold, but wait till he heats up. And obviously Lane Hudson's having a year. Montebeau's having a good push in net, and now you had a guy like Carrier to kind of fill out that bottom six. I mean, watch out for Montreal. I think this is my bold statement of the podcast. I think they're eons ahead of where the Ottawa Senators are in terms of getting back to a playoff contention and getting back to being a competitive team in the Atlantic Division.
No, absolutely. And I think that if they start making some of these, not necessarily lower tier moves, but these depth moves that they already have, because you already have the core kind of set in place. You're going to rely on heavily Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Patrick Laine is looking really good right now. If you rely on those guys and you surround them with good quality pieces, that's going to help out tremendously in this kind of rebuild phase. And hopefully you can get to that, that end goal of being a playoff team and competing hard in meaningful games in the spring later on with the pieces that you do have. Because I mean, they pegged us, or they brought up this question on, I believe it was before the game where on TSN, where it was Montreal and Buffalo, who's light years ahead, or who has the better rebuild process right now. And you have to give the advantage to the Montreal Canadiens, because Buffalo, we're seeing firsthand what's going on with Buffalo right now, winless at 11 or 12 games, which is just uncanny at this point. So that organization is just in a whole lot of mess. They got to figure things out. And I feel for Sabres fans, because as we talked on this podcast, we want to see them do great, but at the same time, it just seems like things continue to get worse and worse, no matter who's on that roster right now.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't go as far as saying either that they're ahead of Detroit, but they're pretty close to Detroit, and Detroit might have a few more pieces in the pipeline that might be the difference maker. But in the next little bit, I mean, you're going to see Montreal and Detroit come up, and when Buffalo finally puts it together, like,
They do have the pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we all agree that Buffalo is just underperforming? Like, this team should be
they're
so
not meeting
much better.
expectations. Yeah. I mean, you got Dahlin, you got Thompson, you got Dylan Cousins, who you're expecting to break out at some point too. Like, they do have quality
JJ Paterka,
Quinn,
UPL and Ned. Like, you got, like,
Devin
you've got
Levi,
Devin
Power.
You have the pieces, man. And like, when I saw the game, we saw the game yesterday, 2 goals called back. I mean, if I was a Sabres fan, we'd be jumping on this podcast talking about how shitty that is. The one call with the high stick, I get it. It's in the rule book. Elliot Friedman kind of broke that down for everybody. They did a terrible job in the arena actually explaining that.
Yeah.
But it is in the rule book that they can go back and review the play, and obviously it was a high stick. We all saw it.
It was. I mean, Tanev was bleeding like right at the side of his mouth. So I'm like,
yeah. But I mean, like, it's still a shitty call. And then the goaltender interference, man, like, I don't know. What
is goaltender interference? What is goaltender interference at this point?
To me, somebody who is a Leaf fan, that was a goal. That was a goal.
Really? Okay.
That was a goal.
I think this might be the one the one time where we may not agree. I can understand it's a very, like, it may not have been very obvious on first glance, but I mean, Lafferty did hit his stick. It kind of did knock him out, and he kind of did lose balance, so he didn't quite have the time to adjust. But if it's a subtle, like, movement with the stick and the skate that could push somebody off balance, I don't know.
Maybe it's me, but I feel like goaltenders have become like the softest athletes. Like, I'm talking softer than soccer players.
I was about to say, are we getting soccer, like, World
softer
Cup,
than soccer
like,
players.
flopping level, or?
Man, if you were a goalie, you used to have to fight for positioning.
Yeah.
Like, now it's like, man, if you get
slightest movement,
if you get the slightest bump against your pads and it throws you off slightly, it's a no goal. Like, that's not the way it's meant to be.
Throw off.
Yeah, it's not meant to be, man. Like, we all remember Matt Murray and kind of pushing off the net.
That Devils game, yeah.
Right? It was multiple. I think it was multiple instances, right? People went back and they took video of like Murray pushing the net off in multiple games. Like, I would not put it past this guy. And, like, it's a smart play, but don't get me wrong. I truly believe, like, there was a little enactment there, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I was. Let's say this.
I can understand the goaltender interference one. I think maybe you can make a case for that. I really do think the first one, it was definitely a high stick.
Absolutely.
The second one, I really do think that there was a slight bump. It did kind of throw him off, but he probably could have got back into position.
So this is where, like, if I was a Leafs fan and that happened to the Leafs, I would be absolutely losing it. 100%, right? And that's why I'm saying, if you're a Sabres fan, I don't blame you for sitting back and saying, that's a goal, this is bullshit, what is goaltender interference? Because I think we've been in the same position on multiple occasions over the last 5 seasons. Right? So, I don't know. Anyways, Sabres are underperforming. I think we can all agree to that. The Atlantic is going to heat up in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 seasons. But again, we're not here to talk about the Atlantic. We're not here to talk about anything else except for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, let's get to these Maple Leafs.
Let's get right into it.
I think we have to kick it off with tonight. The game is on. They're down 3-2 to the New York Islanders. 4 minutes left in the second, and there is no Auston Matthews. The suggestion is that he will not be in the game on Monday against the Jets, albeit Berube said we will get to that when the time comes. We'll have a discussion about it tomorrow, see where we're at. I'm guessing this is going to be one of those day-to-day that leads into a week-to-week type of thing.
Yeah.
But what happened was there was a re-aggravation of the injury that he was already dealing with. You can go to Tic Tac Tomar on X or Blue Sky, whichever one you want. He does actually post a video of the cross check that got Matthews like right under the ribs. Steve Dangle put a tweet out there. Again, no fine, no nothing, no supplemental
penalty,
no penalty, no nothing. You're not protecting your star players. I think we've seen them protect McDavid on a number of other occasions. And in this case, again, Matthews takes a cross check at the side of net. Again, he says he doesn't think it was targeted, but I mean, you're talking about one of the best players in the league right now, one of the best goal scorers. He hasn't been the same all season long. We talked about it last week. And I think this is just going to be another. I think you got to sit him, put him on LTIR, sit him until he's 100%. If that means past the trade deadline, and that you throw it on there, and cap circumvention or whatever you want to call it. Hey, take that Patrick Kane loophole and slide right in.
I was about to say, you put an $11 million star on LTIR to get $11 million worth of players for a deep playoff run, man.
Vegas does it every year.
They did it every year. Tampa Bay did it. So you know what? Everyone hates the Maple Leafs anyway. So you know what? Why not?
What was Kucherov's quote after they won the cup? $11 million?
Yeah, no, like $18 million over the cap or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and he had a T-shirt.
Crushing Coors Light
as well.
Crushing Coors Light.
Crushing Coors Light, during those Stanley Cup sellies, yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, the video that Tic Tac Tomar posted, it kind of feels like, if there's the re-aggravation, it kind of feels like upper body, like shoulder, back kind of thing, where it's not the wrist, it's not his arms or anything like that, but it is within that side region, which can get very uncomfortable. And if there is like a nagging pain or something, it does linger. It does linger quite a bit. So I do think that, again, you're heading into that Christmas break where you're going to be off for about 3, 4, 5 days after this game in the afternoon. I say just sit him, reevaluate when you come back. I think they play on Friday, and it's going to be another back-to-back situation where maybe you either play him Friday, you hold off
7th of the season.
7th of, I still kept Jesus, man. They're like 7 back-to-backs already. And they're first in the Atlantic. So if the NHL is trying to throw them off their game, I don't think it's quite working out. But yeah, I digress with the whole back-to-back situation. But yeah, if you want to hold them out until like Saturday, where you give him a full week, because the cross-check happened after he scored that one-time goal from Nylander, and he looked kind of okay right there. Maybe he's still kind of feeling like those like after effects, maybe a slight movement here and there could probably throw him off, maybe. But if you do want to get him to 100%, I have no problem with putting him off, even shutting him down to maybe until the new year too. See where he's at 2 weeks from now, because we know how well this team can play. We know who can elevate their game. We're seeing Nylander do it once again this time around. Hopefully Mitch Marner, John Tavares, they could replicate what happened in the first stretch of games when he was out. But yeah, I mean, I know that like even online too, I think there was a lot of Maple Leaf fans that are just absolutely frustrated with this. I don't know if it's because of the missed call or how there should have been something, or the fact that he re-aggravated the same injury that he happened before. Maybe the Maple Leafs rushed him back. I don't know, but they wouldn't have given him the okay if the doctors didn't feel that he was okay. Number one, I feel like that the whole, they should have waited a little bit longer. Hindsight's 2020. If the Maple Leafs, Matthews, and everybody else feels that he's okay, they're not going to put their star franchise captain of a player out for no reason or play him if he's still injured. There's just absolutely no way. It's a dumb suggestion to think that. But I do understand that it sucks that he re-aggravated it just when he started to look healthy and when he started to, get back to the form that he had before. Because I think the first game when he came back, he was looking really great. That game against the New Jersey Devils, shot after shot, post after post, and then he gets the game winner there. So you know what? I felt like he was going in the right direction. It just sucks that it has to happen now. But if there was a time to do it now, or if he were to get injured again, now it's probably the best time to put him on the shelf where you do have a gap in some breaks in between.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to consider is maybe he's looking for a holiday visit to Germany, but I mean, we'll see what happens
we'll
there.
See.
But anyways, you mentioned the numbers and how well the Leafs have done after, without Matthews in the lineup. Without Matthews in the lineup, record of 41, 21, and 2. Their goals per game is 3.23, so they're right there with the 2 through 2. And then their power play at 29.6%. So I think there's a frustration that he is re-aggravated that injury, that he's injured again. I think there's a frustration because, maybe some people laid some money on him to win the Rocket Richard again this year. There's frustration because you're without your star player, right? Mm-hmm. He hasn't looked like himself all season long. He's coming off a season where he put up 69 goals. The expectation is that he would at least get to 40, and here he is, just not having a year because he's obviously nursing something, and you have to kind of give him that time to get back to 100% and have him ready for playoffs. And like I said before, if you have to take him and stick him on LTIR, I'm not saying this is the case. I'm not saying you're going to stick him on LTIR, although we all know that Vegas will stick Mark Stone on LTIR as soon as he gets back from Four Nations Cup. But I know I'm just shooting it all. I'm shooting around tonight.
The joke's right itself at this point. I mean, when you think about that, it's always Vegas or Tampa. It always is.
You know what? I feel like I haven't had an episode where I've been on an absolute heater recently, so I feel like tonight's the night I'm on a heater.
It's the perfect one before the holiday break,
That's right. Yeah, just warm us up a little bit in this cold weather, right? But
exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's where the frustration comes from when we're talking about Matthews, is that there is you want your best player to be there. You want your best player to be in the lineup, and right now it's not happening. And I think that's what's led to this aggravation, I guess, amongst Leafs Nation. It's not necessarily at Matthews. It's not necessarily at the Toronto Maple Leafs for rushing him back. It's not. There's just a plethora of reasons why there's frustration amongst Leaf fans. But again, the Leafs can do it. The numbers point to them having actually better results with him out of the lineup. That's a discussion for another day. But the fact is, Matthews is not in the lineup, and it's going to be a tough run. You got no Matthews, no Stolars for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Again, probably the best time for all of this to happen.
Yeah.
Right? The games that they would miss over the next couple weeks are non-existent because we are going into the holiday season, and they get a little bit more time to rest up and get back to 100%. That said, we did see Matt Murray come in for the first time in 628 days. And I don't know have you been watching these YouTube shorts that I've been posting?
Yeah.
Man, I felt like I wish that one with the Matt Murray counting the days until he gets back. It's just like,
yeah.
I wish I had like the beautiful mind numbers just floating over my head.
Yeah.
That's what I envisioned when I did it. And I had a buddy who's like, it looks like you just woke up and came up with this idea. I'm like, buddy, I dreamt this. I woke up.
It
and
was
I was
already
like,
there.
Matt Murray. It wrote itself, man. It wrote itself. But 628 days out of the NHL. It's been a long time coming for Matt Murray. We all know the Matt Murray of the Pittsburgh Penguins who got to some cup finals, who won some cups and was playing behind a very, very good Pittsburgh team. We all know the Matt Murray that came in here and had a decent run in Toronto as well at one point when Samsonov just couldn't put everything together. Knowing that Stolar's out of the lineup, knowing that Matt Murray's coming in, there was a sense of nervousness, right? It was kind of mentioned in the afternoon that Berube confirmed that Matt Murray was going to be the starter for last night's game against Buffalo. Obviously, the Leafs against Buffalo over the last, let's say, 5 seasons, Buffalo's had their number.
In Buffalo, yeah.
In Buffalo. And yet, Matt Murray came out. He had a strong first period. Had a shutty going through the first. Had a couple of maybe shots he wanted back in the second. Couple of goals called off, which certainly helped. But he got the win, right? And that's got to be the takeaway here. He got the win. he mentioned how he had a chance in warm-ups to kind of take it all in and look back at where he's at now and what he's gone through. And it's actually it's quite interesting because it's kind of like in a way a similar story to what Stolarz has gone through, knowing that his career may have been over and getting the chance to come back and being better in his early 30s, right? Now you've got Matt Murray, who went through the season ending or the year-long recovery from hip surgery, and he's coming back. And as a goaltender, I mean, obviously your hips, you never need every aspect of your lower body to be moving around that net the way that you need to. He came back, he looked good. What were your takeaways from Matt Murray's game as a whole last night in Buffalo?
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too, where there's a possibility where Matt Murray's career was in doubt. Would he ever come back? So you know what? Like you said, for him to soak it all in and take it all in, the fact that he's back in the NHL, considering where he was 600 plus days ago, it really is an eye-opener. And you know what? You have to feel good about this whole entire story. I know there's a lot of doubt about riding a goaltending tandem of Joseph Woll and Matt Murray, who have both dealt with injuries throughout their career. More even recently right now with Woll at the beginning of the season, playoffs, Murray right now. I totally get it. I get that there's that sense of nervousness. And to rely on that goaltending tandem right now, you have no other choice. Unless you go out and get another goaltender, I don't see that happening because you were going to ride that Stolarz-Woll tandem no matter what. Feel good story nonetheless for Matt Murray to come back in. Given the situation, how it was unfolding, but that's why they have the depth. That's why they signed him back to that contract where, in case something happens, lo and behold, it did. He would get a call up and possibly a chance to get back into the NHL. I really didn't like the Maple Leafs finish as a whole. I really thought they could have closed it off a little bit better. I did think Matt Murray looked good at times. At times, I thought maybe he was fighting himself a little bit too much, being a little bit too over aggressive. Angles weren't that great. Some of those goals, like you said, maybe he would have liked to have back. But there were some key saves that he made that could have tilted the tide in favor of the Sabres. It was a slow progression. Yeah, he had some goals called back, but he made some good saves to keep his team in it. Again, for example, I'm just going to use the Peterka goal where, I believe it was Benoit coughed the puck up at the blue line, turned it over, quick transition the other way. Everyone's thrown off, even Murray. When you make plays like that, you're asking for a goal against. Some other plays, yeah, maybe he wasn't in position. Maybe he could have been a little bit better, but he got the win. And given the situation where the Maple Leafs are, where you're now at your third/fourth string goalie, if you're going back and forth between Hildeby and Murray right now, it's a tough spot. So yeah, maybe you would like some saves, or a few more saves, but when you get the win into 2 points, I think that's all that matters, because Maple Leafs are still at the top of the Atlantic for now as we're recording. But yeah, I thought it was a good game. I thought maybe this is something that he could build off of, because his numbers in the AHL were great. And we kind of saw that, it kind of carried over, maybe a little bit tentative and shaky at times, but I think he had a good result.
Yeah, and worth noting too, this was just posted on X that this offseason, Matt Murray had the opportunity to sign a PTO with another team, chose to bet on himself, chose to stay with the Leafs. So take that for what you will. You obviously you want a guy who's willing to do that. You want a guy who's puts the confidence in himself to go out there and win games. And he did exactly that. It wasn't the best showing. It wasn't the best I've seen out of a goaltender. It wasn't the best I've seen out of Matt Murray. But it was a win. It was a decent return to the NHL, and it was the first NHL action in over 600 days. So I think anybody taking anything away from that has got to check themselves, because that was a good team win. Yeah. It was a good team win. Like you said,
good character win overall, I think.
Yeah, I didn't like the tail end of the game. I thought they let up a little bit, and I thought it almost cost them. Fortunately, the NHL and the refs did not want Buffalo to win that game and stole 2 goals from them. No, I'm kidding. It was a much needed win, and I think the confidence that builds not only not only in Matt Murray, but in the team to know that they can have anybody in that net essentially, and that they're going to go out there and win games. That's important for this team, especially when you talk about heading into playoffs, and who the hell knows what happens in playoffs. Injuries happen. Goalies are in and out of the lineup, and things change very quickly. So that was very important. Before we get to our next point here, I just want to do a quick read from our friends over at Gametime, especially because it's the holiday season. What better time to head over to Gametime and get tickets to your favorite event, whether it be sports, concerts, comedy, or theater. This Gametime's got a curation of all sorts of events, and Gametime picks. It's a curation that makes it easier to save more on any of these things. So it's got all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature. It shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. It allows you to see what your view looks like from your seat before you even purchase the tickets. And it's got the lowest price guarantee. If not, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. At Gametime, your ticket is covered. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So for now, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. So, our last real major point for the Maple Leafs would have to be this third line that's come back with a surge of offense. We're talking about Nick Robertson. We're talking about Max Domi. And we're talking about Bobby McMann, who's returned to the lineup from injury. We're going to call it the what I say, the MDR line. I believe I called it the MDR line, managed detection and response. And that team has done exactly that. They've managed the puck. They've detected opportunities, and they've responded with a ton of offense over the last week. 3 goals for Robertson, 2 goals for Domi, and I believe 3 for McMahon now as well. Regardless, Robertson's got 6 points in the last 3 games. I think as a whole, the line's got 8 points 8 goals and 8 assists in the last 3 games. 16 points in the last 3 games. I don't think you cannot break this lineup. You cannot break this lineup. I think everything's clicking right now. They can all skate. They all have the ability to stick handle. You've got 2 shooters on that line with McMahon and Robertson. Obviously, we know Domi's not a shooter. Averages less than 3 shots a game. But you've got 3 guys that have the potential to have 20-goal seasons. And we talked about this in the opening. I don't know if you remember way back before the season started, I said if Robertson gets the opportunities, this is a 20-goal scorer. Mm-hmm. He's slowly climbing, and there's a lot of hockey left to play, and that confidence is building in that kid, and he did it again against Dallas, against his brother Jason. I love to see it. His family was in the stands. That's a confidence builder. What's your takeaway from the MDR line?
I remember last year when it was Domi, Yarncroke, and Robertson when they were formed against the Tampa Bay Lightning, where they got that secondary scoring going. And lo and behold, Robertson was scratched for a few games, comes back, gets paired up with Domi and McMahon. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened, but that line has been firing on all cylinders right now. Like, I know that the top line or the top 6 is the top 6, but they've been the one go-to line these last 3 games, and you can't overlook that. I mean, you're seeing this, the pace and I understand you said that Max Domi should, we've all said that he needed to shoot more. He's starting to shoot a little bit more right now. He needed to get that confidence there, and he's taking advantage of that.
It's going in.
Pucks are going in. That's all that matters. I mean, we saw that, that response goal after Sam Steele made it 1-0, and Domi just wires it over, I believe it was the blocker or the glove of Jake Ottinger. And then you see Nick Robertson, finding the back of the net like he has. Bobby McMann, they're just clicking right now. I mean, the chemistry is undeniable at this point. And we talked about the production and the stats, but looking deeper with this line right now, overall with McMann, Robertson, and Domi as a line, per natural stat trick, they've been on for 6 goals for, 1 against at all strengths. Doesn't quite seem right given the amount of goals that they score, but I guess it's just individual tallies and all that. But the scoring chances are up 49 to 15, 76%. 15 to 5 high danger chances, 75%. Expected goals for 67.77%. I mean, again, I'm kind of like at a loss for words right now because at the beginning of the season, or the first 20 plus or so games, McMahon was kind of inconsistent. He was cold, started to pick it up. Domi was on like a 20-game pointless streak, and I think a lot of us were debating whether should you get an improvement over Max Domi? Like, could you get like a depth middle 6 player that can move up and down the lineup, that could be a little bit more consistent in producing and finding the back of the net? Nick Robertson, he's been in and out as well. He was snake bitten, but also really was fighting it at times. Really, I think this stretch of him getting scratched may have been the one where maybe this kind of was the wake-up call for him. But then again, we've heard Craig Berube said where, he's got to try and figure out how to get Robertson going. And like you mentioned, like each player is doing their own specific role on that line. Domi is the playmaker. He's not necessarily the catalyst, but the one drawing opponents in so he can make things easier when he dishes the puck to either McMann or Robertson. You mentioned both, or we've seen McMann and Robertson both score. We see how quick their release is. And we're seeing the way that they could respond on the back check too. I think what stood out most, other than Robertson's like quick fire goal on Ottinger, was that back check at the blue line where he basically intercepted the pass from his own brother to quickly get out of the zone, go back in, dish it off to McMann, and boom, McMann finds the back of the net. They have that blend. You have McMann as that power forward. You have that Robertson as the sharpshooter and the speedster. You have Domi as the playmaker. Each line needs to have that identity of who's going to be doing what, and all 3 players know that. It's kind of like the feel where you try to like load up the top line where you have Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. You have all the skill there, but you don't have a player like Matthew Knights that could go in, attack, and set up forecheck. Maybe Marner could do that, maybe Matthews, but who knows? All 3 of these forwards are willing to go in, set up the attack, and do whatever they can, whether it's on the rush, whether it's down low on the forecheck. They're going to make something happen. And it just really is a breath of fresh air that the Maple Leafs now have a third line that could do some damage. How long is it going to last? I think that's the only question. Will they go cold again? And if so, how long of a stretch are they going to go cold? Is it going to go into the postseason? Can you rely on them in the postseason? Because I think now, obviously, with the top core 4 being as productive as they are you going to rely on Max Domi given how cold or streaky he is? Is Nick Robertson going to be in the press box again? Is McMann going to be in a cold stretch at some point? I think those are the main questions you have to ask for the future. But I think right now they're getting results, and that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say too, like I think the biggest takeaway is right now with Matthews out of the lineup, it creates more opportunity. Yeah. And this line's going to eat up more minutes. The more the more offense they produce, the more minutes they're going to get, especially with Matthews out of the lineup, because you're going to need those guys out there and playing games. So, yeah, I've been impressed, man. It's been good to see. I'm not gonna lie. I was on the verge of being on the trade Robertson train. Mm-hmm. I was right there. I was like, this guy needs to go. He needs to get a fresh start. He's purely talented. Like that's the thing. There's no question. And I had a hard time with it because I see like Liljegren in San Jose right now, and he's playing decent hockey.
Yeah,
he's playing decent hockey. He's getting an opportunity. He's playing decent hockey. It was never going to happen in Toronto after the way this year started. Mm-hmm. I thought after the contract signed this offseason, the way that he was going to start the year, I had a feeling that Liljegren could do something. The way they started this year and sitting him and having him in and out of the lineup, it was never going to happen in Toronto. So I'm happy to see that for him. But I wanted so much from Robertson. I wanted Robertson to come in and have that big year. And that's why, you know, I said, and I truly believed at the beginning of the season that give this guy the time, give this guy the ice time, the players to play with, the chemistry. This guy's a 20-goal scorer.
Because you knew that. I was about to say, because you knew that if he did, even if he didn't, and he got traded elsewhere, you knew he would pop off.
Absolutely.
Knowing how the type of player that he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he has the talent. He's tenacious. He gets in the grimy areas. Haley Wickenheiser even said like he needs to let off a little bit, but this is a guy that, you know, wants to be there and has the passion, man. And to see him finally getting the results, what a breath of fresh air. And at the end of the day, like, who knows? Like, they might still trade him because he's coming up on another contract this offseason, and who the heck knows what's going to happen with that. But, you know, this is what he needed. This is what he needed, and I think he's finally getting it. He's finally playing with the right people. They can all keep up with each other, and it's going to work out really well for him. I think he's still got the potential to be a 18 to 20 goal scorer this season, if he can stay hot. So stay hot, Robertson. Please stay hot.
I really like what, you know, Berube said post game about how their line is clicking, hounding and hustle, the double H right there. Like they're hounding pucks, they're hustling, they're being heavy on the attack. That's what you want to see in those bottom six roles. That's what you want to see from those depth players. You don't want, like, obviously you want them to succeed. You want them to have a little bit of skill, but you want them to have the identity. MDR was a perfect like explanation for that. So kudos to that, but also hounding and hustle. I mean, it basically is the moniker of that line right now.
Yeah, I figured it was better than being like McDom Robertson, the McDom Robertson line. It doesn't that just sounds stupid. So I figured we'd go with MDR, but it does really it's a testament to what this line has done in the last week. I love the fact that I went out and bought 2 Bobby McMann, the young guns, this offseason before the season started. So shout out to me for jumping on the Bobby McMann train. But yeah, I think it's just they needed this. Every single one of them needed this. But McMann was had a great start to the year before he went down with injury. Robertson, he's starting to come alive. And Domi, I mean, finally Domi's starting to see the results, and I think that's so important for his game as well. And that's going to just fire him up, and he's gonna look better in all facets of the game. So that's important as well. But I did want to do a couple of little notes from like around the hockey world as well. You'll see it in our little document that we have that we look at all the time. We're gonna jump into that in just a sec here, but before we do, I want to quickly jump over to a quick ad read from the DraftKings Sportsbook, our other sponsors at the Hockey Podcast Network. It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. And here's a gift for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling or gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. I also want to note, too, that DraftKings did join up with the NHL to create these amazing they've got sweaters, t-shirts, hats for all teams. They're on sale now. So for those of you looking for a last minute gift for your loved ones, definitely check those out. The Leafs one actually looks like retro Maple Leafs, and it's got like a puck with the DK crown on it. It's actually pretty sick. So make sure you check those out as well over at DraftKings Shop. Outside of that, yeah, like I said, there's a few notes I just kind of wanted to touch on here. Obviously, we got to talk about Nylander. Nylander with 2 goals tonight. Draisaitl had the overtime winner for Edmonton earlier today. Nylander now sits 1 goal behind Leon Draisaitl for the NHL lead in the goal department. So big shout out to Nylander. He's continued a torrid pace from last season. This guy, I think it's safe to say that William Nylander is maybe one of the more underrated players in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. And like, forget his pay for a second, but this guy is underrated in terms of the recognition he gets for what he does for his team. But yeah, sitting there now with 23 goals on the season, obviously leading the Leafs, second in the league, 1 back in Leon Draisaitl, and this is a guy that's playing like he's playing second and third line minutes most of the year right now, right? Like, he's bouncing between that second and third line to balance out the scoring. I think I just saw him on with David Kampf, so that kind of goes to show you where this guy is in the lineup. Isaiah George just scored for the New York Islanders to put him up 4-2. As much as I hate that as a Leaf fan, that's a great moment for Isaiah George, former London Knight, to get his, I believe that's his first NHL goal. So congratulations. Yes, first NHL goal. So congratulations to Isaiah George. Big time goal for him against a big time team in
former
Toronto.
London Knight too.
Former London Knight, absolutely. Just goes along with the storied franchise that is the London Knights. Also, a note from last night's game, Brandon Tanev had an assist on William Nylander's third period empty netter. That was his 200th career NHL point. Along with that, John Tavares got his 600th assist as well in that game. He becomes the 102nd player to reach that milestone. He also passed Henrik Sedin, I believe, for 70th on the all-time points list in the NHL. So this guy continues to produce. He's averaging a point per game this season. It's incredible to see what he's been able to do at his age, and closing out a contract with the Leafs this season. He's going to be looking for a contract in the offseason with the Leafs. Who knows? But again, a big moment for him. His next goal will also be his 200th with the Maple Leafs. He'll become just the, you guessed it, 4th player in NHL history to score 200 goals with 2 separate teams. I'll let you, I don't have the names with me, but I know one's Wayne Gretzky, obviously. I'd have to look up the others, but I believe, anyways, doesn't matter. That we can touch that. We can touch base with that for next episode.
We'll circle back for that next week,
or when it happens. Yeah, if somebody knows it, you can comment. We'll read it out. But yeah, so that's pretty incredible. That's a pretty incredible stat to be able to join that company as well. 2 notes on Leafs. Well, 1 Leaf and 1 former Leaf. Elliot Friedman is saying there is no concern or worry or panic around Matthews' re-aggravation.
There you go.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly what we heard when he was day-to-day last time, Elliot.
Then again, like day-to-day seems like week-to-week, month-to-month, whatever, who knows. But at the same time, you know what?
Don't play with my feelings, Elliot.
I was about to say maybe last time there was a little bit more of a cloud because it was the initial start of it all. Well, I mean, Elliot hasn't been wrong before. Let's agree with Elliot on this one. Let's hope that it's okay. So, EF, we're taking your word for it as well. Hopefully, that's some good holiday news that Elliot is bringing everybody right now.
Yeah, yeah, right. Also, John Klingberg is reportedly set to return to skating with a junior team. He's hoping to make an NHL return from Robidaw Island. So we'll see if John Klingberg can battle back to an NHL career the same way that Matt Murray did over the past 2 seasons. Outside of that, the last thing I want to make note of is obviously we talked about, I don't know if we talked about it on the air, if we just talked about it But the OHL is looking to expand into the 2 U.S. markets, basically taking 2 teams from the USHL. The OHL Board of Governors has voted and approved that, albeit USA Hockey has come out and absolutely shut that down. Obviously, reasons are they don't want more players to go to the CHL and then come back and go NCAA, which is, part of the new agreement there as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there. I think it's inevitable that the OHL will expand to those U.S. markets, but time will tell, and we will be sure to keep you updated if and when that does happen. Outside of that, Peter, that's all I have. Leafs are down 4-2 as we close out this episode. But do you have anything else you want to add to the tail end of this?
I just want to give a quick shout out to Easton Cowan because of the fact that it is a pre-tournament game for the World Juniors. We all know that that's a wonderful time of year that hockey fans love. Canada beat Switzerland 7-1, and Easton Cowan had a dominant showing with the hat trick. During the lines leading into that game, he was on a line with Callum Ritchie and Bradley Nadeau, Colorado Avalanche and Carolina Hurricanes picks, respectfully for those 2 players. I really like the chemistry that he showed with both Nadeau and Ritchie. You saw the intensity, you saw the pace, you saw the work ethic that Cowan showed in that game against Switzerland. I really want to I even tweeted about this too. I highlighted the second goal that he scored where he did a fantastic job, using his skating to evade pressure, get to the middle, and he shot the puck. But the way that he shoots the puck at times, it's like it's barely elevated off the ice. Like it's elevated, but it's so close to the bottom or to the surface. And he still manages to pick his corner and picks a spot every single time. I've seen that quite a bit with London and other games as well. He does that so perfectly. But then again, there's also, the give and goes, the passing plays, the one-timer shots on the power play. I think he's going to be a very important player for Canada this time around. He was more of a depth addition last year. I think now in a more elevated role, he's going to be important. Now, am I going to say he's going to lead the team in scoring? No. But I do think he is going to be a little bit more productive, and he's going to be one of those key guys that they're going to rely on because he is a returning player. So shout out to him. Canada, I believe, may have tied it up against Sweden right now. So I don't know. I've been going back and forth between both games because it really is difficult juggling both NHL and junior games. But yeah, Oliver Blanc did tie their pre-tournament game against Sweden 2-2 right now for that.
I was just laughing because Ryan Reeves was sent in on a breakaway. So, and
I guess we all know what happened.
17th shot for the Maple Leafs. So again, being outplayed. But
yeah,
absolutely. I can't believe I forgot to mention Easton Cowan. But he's I think he's gonna have a huge role for Canada this time around. The World Juniors is just around the corner. It's going to be an exciting time. I know you like to cover the prospects. I love covering the prospects. We get to see some of the young players that are up and coming in the game. So definitely check out the World Juniors. Definitely stay tuned at the Hockey Writers for all the great coverage that we've got as well. And be sure to tune in because we're going to be talking about it every episode. And I'm hoping to do some more quick shifts in the next little while over the holiday season to keep the Sticks of the Six spirit going throughout the holiday season.
Always.
So, as always.
I do want to say, I do want to give a shout out to Dayton, who is managing the coverage for the World Juniors right now, doing a fantastic job with that and everything and managing and all that. So big shout out to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job, Dayton. And like I said, if you are looking for coverage of the World Juniors, forget all the regular sites you go to. Make sure you go to the Hockey Writers. We've got top-notch coverage. We have people on the ground, or we will have people on the ground at the World Juniors as well, covering those games. So be sure to tune in and check out everything that's coming out of that site. It's one of the best sites on the net right now, guys. So shout out to the Hockey Writers and shout out to Bruce, Dean, and Kyle, who all do a fantastic job.
The
over
boss
there.
men.
They keep it running, man. They keep it running. I've been there for 11 years. They keep it running. So keep it going, guys. And to all those, we won't see you before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all of our fantastic listeners. We appreciate you guys always tuning in. We appreciate all your input that you always have, whether it's in the comments section, whether it's just viewing, whether it's sharing. You guys are the reason that we continue to do this week in and week out. We're into 5 seasons now. It's crazy to think that we're quickly approaching episode 200. So to all of you guys, Merry Christmas. If we don't see you before it, Happy New Year, and have a great holiday season, folks. It's gonna be a good time. Spend it with family. Stay safe, and make sure that you eat lots of turkey before we get out of here. Go Canada, and of course, go Leafs go.